Ciao.
That's sponsored by Remote HQ. Collaborate like you're in the same room. Go to remotehq.co/minutes for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the code MINUTES for 3 months free. That's Remote HQ.
Silence!
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total.
Because that was even more weird because you can't produce a head on a live show, right? And so in the first week, I think week and a half, I was, we're going to go at 4 today. We're going to go at 3:30 one day. We're going to go at 2 today because I got something to do. And now I go at 3:30 every afternoon, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, because, I need it to be a habit. I need it to be a habit for people. And then I turn it around so that it's out by 4:30 in the afternoon. Hopefully on the West Coast, 7:30 on the East Coast. I might miss that by like 15 minutes occasionally.
Slacker.
Well, no, it's got to be a no. It's because something has happened. Something has gone wrong at that point, and I've had to re-record it on the occasion that I forget to hit record. Anyway, we were talking about that for the past 2 days, and we're not talking about that now, Rob Walch, because now you are only the second person. Oh, by the way, I started to say his name and I forgot. Rob Walch. Today in iOS, VP Podcaster Relations at Libsyn. This is going to be your last time talking to people on this show for this week. So tell people what you want them to know. Email address, where to find you on Twitter, what you want them to go check out. This is your time to shine, Rob Walch.
Sure. If you have any questions about podcasting, since we talked about podcasting the last 2 days, you can email me, Rob, R-O-B, as in Robert, R-O-B, at Libsyn.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at podcast411. But really, I'm just going to berate people on there about not wearing a mask and privacy issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think my Twitter now says mask wearer and soon to be vaxxed.
Nice. Okay. Wow. From your mouth. So you are only the second person to play Wheel of Stuff 2 times. I mean, unless you count me, but that was just me sort of woodshedding the whole thing. This has been around quite a while now, and I'm glad to have you back as our, I don't want to say returning champion because it's not a competition, although I am working on how to make it one. Are you ready, sir, to spin the Wheel of Stuff? Excellent. Here we go. That could have been louder. You get 1 superpower. I don't know if you were on a spaceship and it got hit with gamma rays. I don't know if you were trying to write some wrong and something went horribly wrong. Maybe you got bitten by a radioactive blank. You get 1 superpower. And oddly enough, unlike in the comic books, you get to choose it. What's the 1 superpower, Rob Walch?
I'll go with my favorite comic book hero, the Tick. Nigh invulnerability. Okay. Now, are you also as dumb as the Tick was? I hope not, okay. But I love the Tick. Well, I really enjoyed the Patrick Warburton The Tick. I haven't watched the more recent one, and I read a few issues back in the day, but mostly I just like looking at a few of the drawings because that was funny enough for me. Oh, the comic book are very good. I have all of them. So. All right. Yeah. Hey, were you a Silver Surfer reader? I was not. Okay. I'm trying to get my head around that one, and it's kind of tough. Apparently, he was the standard bearer for Galactus, who was terrible. It's because I came across something the other day where Stan Lee and Mobius had done 2 issues of Silver Surfer. And I thought, well, I don't know anything about Silver Surfer, but I have to read this. So I got it from... Can't remember. I think I got it from Amazon because I tried to support my local comic shop and they were like, yeah, I've never heard of it. I'm like, well, okay, well, you're not the right people then. And I went to Amazon and I got it and it was really fascinating. And now on the one hand, I'm like, wow, I kind of want to know more about the Silver Surfer. And I think, yeah, it's like a silver dude on a surfboard. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm familiar with him, but I just never read any of the comic books he was in. Yeah. Well, yeah, you really have to read Silver Surfer. Largely, although I think he did turn up in Fantastic Four a lot as well. Wasn't? Yeah, I was going to say he was in that. And did he have an appearance in Spider-Man? No, he was in. I don't know. I'm sure he's been all over the Marvel universe because that's what they do, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Especially because if Galactus was going to be there, mm-hmm. Silver Surfer was going first because he was his herald. He was like those guys and. Anyway, that wasn't the one you chose. Surfing could have been your power, by the way. Surfing. I want to surf. Was it Mur Lafferty from I Should Be Writing and many other podcasts? Her superpower was being able to get the elevator to come immediately when you hit the button.
Nice. I like that. Although, it's interesting. Everybody on Star Trek had that. Not so much to come as soon as you hit the button, but just to come as soon as you need it. Like you hit the button and it's like, well, I need this conversation. This conversation is going to be a little longer. I'm going to hold the elevator back. And then, of course, as soon as you're ready for the conversation to be over, doors open, you're away. Speaking of being away, you ready to spin again?
Absolutely.
I made it louder that time. This thing needs to be recalibrated. Hey, what was the first concert you went to? Now, let me break this one up a tiny bit. I will tell you that my very first concert was the TV show host Mike Douglas, but I was 2, and I only know about that because my mom told me. I have vague memories of her taking me to another show, so let's make it, if you have 2, if you have the very first one you know you were at, and the one you actually chose to go to, that's fine. But I'm curious. I'm
going to go with I'm definitely not going to say the first one I was at, because my mom, her music was more along the Edie Gourmet tunes. So we're going to go with the first one I drove to.
Okay.
Where I chose and drove friends and we went to, and that would have been ZZ Top at Nasa Coliseum. That's the first true concert, really concert that I went to.
Interesting. And that was around the time of the
get small level, but that was a good one.
That was around the time of the fuzzy guitars and the spinning guitars and all that stuff. She's Got Legs around that time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because I was 16. And actually, yeah, I was 17. Because that was when I could actually drive. You couldn't drive at night until you were 17. So I was 17, and that was the first one I drove to.
That was the first one you drove to, but was that actually the first concert you chose to go to? Because, I didn't drive to Billy Joel, but that's because I was 13. But my mom and I went to see Billy Joel, and that was the reason we went to see it was because I actively wanted to see Billy Joel on the Keeping the Faith tour.
No, I actually, younger, 8th grade, went with friends, and we went and saw a concert for a band called Zebra.
Okay, I don't know them, but that counts. I think that counts.
Okay.
Rob gives the wheel one more spin in a moment, but first a word from Remote HQ, letting you collaborate as if you are in the same room. In the before times, working together was as easy as pulling up a chair, sharing notes, leaning in and looking over someone's shoulder. We may get back there someday, but today is definitely not that day. Today we need new tools to give us that togetherness. And Remote HQ can be those. Remote HQ gives your group access to the kinds of things that you would have if you were together. A whiteboard anybody can write on. A shared web browser anybody can control. Notes anybody can add to. Plus access to apps your team already uses, like Google Docs, Miro, Dropbox, and others. So even if you can't be together, you can work together. Try it out and see. Go to remotehq.co/minutes for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the code MINUTES for 3 months free. Give Remote HQ a try. Go to remotehq.co/minutes for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the code MINUTES for 3 months free. All right. You ready to spin it one last time, sir? Good. And I'm going to vamp because I actually took myself away from the app for 1 second. Right. Here we go. Can I tell you my other first concert, by the way, while this is happening?
Yes.
Cheap Trick.
Ah.
They actually played at an amusement park in Nashville, Opryland, which doesn't exist anymore. So don't go looking for it. You can look for the Opryland Hotel and Opry Mills. Opry Mills is the mall that they tore down the amusement park Opryland to build. Because growing up in Nashville, you would have had a lot more options. Well, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I remember I saw John Hartford. Again, though, I was being dragged to all kinds of places that I shouldn't have been. Like, I saw John Hartford in the Exit Inn when I was 8. I didn't belong in the Exit Inn. When I was 8, it's a bar. The Police used to play at Exit Inn back in the day, like long before they were, could fill even a normal-sized arena. It was a club that they would play when they were touring the States in Nashville. So that's the kind of place the Exit Inn was. And I was 8. Thankfully, it was only a 1-drink minimum, because otherwise... 1 book to read. This actually turned up last week as well. Chuck Joyner decided that what he wanted to do was give us a novel. He said, well, actually, he didn't decide that. He said, well, if you're asking for fiction, I'll say this. And I was like, well, I'm not asking for fiction. I'm asking for whatever. So he gave us 2 books. You only have to give us 1. But if there is 1 book that everybody listening should read at some point, what is the 1 book you would suggest?
Dune.
Dune?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because I was thinking about that. The problem with Dune is it's really... Did you have any trouble getting into Dune the first time?
No, it was the first... Actually, it was the first book that got me into reading sci-fi. Yeah.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. How old were you?
It should have been the summer between... It was either summer between 6th and 7th or 7th and 8th.
Holy cow. Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
It was between 7th and 8th. Yeah.
You're hardcore, man. Because I had friends who told me I should read Dune. And outside a bookstore that I loved, they had a remainder table. And there was the illustrated Dune, which if you look for it now, and I don't mean like a comic book of it, it was just like a beautiful illustrations. I loved it. They grabbed my attention. And if you look for it now, it's like $40 or $50, I think. You can find it on eBay. But I found it for like $3. And I bought it, and I tried to read it, and I just couldn't get into it. But I held on to it. I tried to read it again, and I couldn't get into it. And then finally, I used to be deathly afraid of flying. I still don't like it, but I wouldn't do it. But I was going to school in Boston and wanted to go home for Christmas in Nashville. And so I got on a Greyhound, and I was like, I'm doing this. I did not bring anything except for my clothes and a copy of Dune. and about the 3rd or 4th hour, I was completely hooked, and I finished it probably within a week, because I'm also a slow reader, but I finished that one really
well. Now's a great time to read it too, because the movie's coming out later next year.
Yeah, next year on TV, which has made a lot of people very happy. Let me ask you a question: why Dune?
It just paints such a vivid world, and I think some people will berate it, but even the people that berate it will tell you, but I read it 3 or 4 times. It's just a really immersive one. So if you're going to read a book, it's a nice long one for sure. And again, it was the book that turned me into reading sci-fi, and I have to thank the next door neighbor, friend of the mother, who came out and told us youngins. She was one that used to go to Comic Cons and sci-fi cons back. This is in the early 80s, and she's like, "If you need to read this," and actually it was late 70s, and you need to read this, Dune. If you guys like Star Wars, read this. She goes, they even have sand crawlers. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna read it then. I like Star Wars. Just the detail of the story, the building of the world.
Yeah, that part is really incredible. I don't disagree. I don't think it's the one I would choose, but it wasn't about me. It was about you. It was about you spinning the wheel of stuff, which you have once again done admirably, sir. I'm sorry we've emptied out the prize bin, but you do leave with our thanks for once again spinning the wheel of stuff.